Hi, welcome to Sacred Enzyme. I'm Stacy, and today I want to elaborate and go in a little bit further about in antiquity and these pinecone depictions and what my theories are on what I feel like this depiction is saying. And you have these famous depictions where you see a pine cone is being inserted into the tree of life. You have these Sumerian gods. You have Dionysus, right? He's got a pine cone, right? You got a Vishnu. We've got the Pope here. Look at the Pope here with his pine cone, right? I mean, we got all kind of pine cones. You got Vishnu. We've got it on the scepter. I mean, there's so many depictions of this pine cone on like ancient symbols. And so I really want to break down what I feel like may be the reason that this pine cone is being depicted. Now it's being depicted in Dionysus, and it's also being depicted in Hindu, and it's always intertwined with some kind of herbal, some type of plant, or with the serpent. So I think that these depictions are saying is that it has to do with medicine, and it also has to do with seeds. Now, I've talked about seeds, and seeds are so important because, you know, back in ancient times, they were doing some strange things with seeds, and we're talking about the human seeds, the human semen. They were using it for alchemy. They used it in pharmaceuticals. They used the human seed because it contains all kind of components. It contains sugars and minerals and enzymes and amino acids and all kind of things. So, and then according to your body chemistry or what your genetic profile is, you know, your body may not make cysteine in a certain way, and you might be one of these redheaded people that are commonly depicted in antiquity in these paintings, like Mary Magdalene and Jesus. For some reason, they always paint their hair red. But when you start reading the some of these old Greek medical texts, they talk about looking for redheaded kids to get these enzymes from. So there is something to be said about the red hair and the melanin, because there's a couple different kinds of melanin that comes in the body. And the phenomelanin, I believe it's called phenomelanin. The phenomelanin is what gives the red hair. And it has to do with the amount of cysteines in the body. So there's something to all of that with the seeds, with the enzymes, you know, and then onto the pine cone. Now, what I personally feel about the pine cone is that I think that this pine cone is actually depicting, like, I'm trying to say it like clean. Well, an organ, a reproductive organ. That's what I think the pine cone is signifying. The pine cone is signifying reproduction. So, because a pine cone has seeds inside of it. And so it protects the seed. That's what a pine cone is. But it also has been represented in antiquity as like your manhood or your, you know, your phallus, I guess, your reproduction. So I think that the pine cone is symbolizing, one, a perfect tree, because a pine cone is a perfect tree. Two, also, pine cones have huge amounts of healing properties in them. Pine cones and pine needles, they have amazing amounts of vitamin C in them. Pine trees have vitamin A, vitamin K, fat-soluble vitamins D and E, and they have phytochemicals in them too. And, you know, pines are very acidic. So they work as an antifungal. They work as an antifungal. And so, you know, I think that that's really interesting. And, you know, just like I was talking about phenomelanin, I really think that's an interesting discussion too, is the phenomelanin, how your body produces your skin color and your hair color and different things based on melanin. And melanin all happens in these glands that are in the brain. You know, like you take melatonin at night, or, you know, your pineal gland is calcified. It gets decalcified from taking that. But that is all glandular function, and it is stimulated by the vagal nerve. Those glands are stimulated by the vagal nerve, and I've said that the vagal nerve, I think, is the tree of life. And so the pineal gland being the soul or the seed, right? So the question is do the seeds carry the soul? I mean, we have to form it. I don't know. That's interesting. That's an interesting question. Because, you know, you got enzymes happening, and, you know, that's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So that's another topic for discussion. But, you know, as a botanical, the pine cone is a reproductive organ. Plain and simple. Female pine cones hold the seeds, and the males, they have the pollen. And when you put them all together, you get a pine tree. But pine trees have healing properties. The shape of the pine tree, it's perfect geometric configuration. So, I mean, there's so many things that are tied up into the symbol of a pine cone. We have reproduction, we have nutrition, we have holistic purposes, we have geometry, sacred geometry, right? Reproduction of seeds, protection and nourishment of seed. So I think that the symbol of the pine cone is not just, you're saying knowledge, it's way more than that. It's way more than that. And that's why it's shown with Dionysus, it's shown in the Vedic text, it's entwined with the serpent, because they're saying that, hey, this medical knowledge is what we, you know, they were using, and you know, we'll probably find out more, because I've had an interesting time, because I've been trying to look and see if there are any DMT type properties that come from pine cones. And you know, I cannot find one thing about it, but I'm going to keep looking, because I think that, you know, there was a way that they used pine cones as a psychoactive type drug, hallucinogenic. So anyway, I do know it has ethanol. Ethanol can be taken out of pine cones, and I know that ethanol can be microdosed, and people will have an effect like methamphetamines. I'm pretty sure that that used to be in antifreeze, and that's what would kill animals when they drank antifreeze, is that methyl. But I could be wrong about that. But I'm still looking. Because I'm really interested to see if there are any type of DMT properties that are in pine cones, because the thing with the pine cones go way deeper. I think it's just a symbol, completely a symbol of what they were trying to teach in antiquity, is that we come from the universe. Everything about us is seeped with the universe, that we're geometrical, that we're mathematic, we're electric, you know, that we are like a puzzle of different types of chemicals and minerals that hook together and separate from each other and form processes and different things for our vitality. And it mirrors everything in nature at the same time. You can go outside and you can look at all of these same principles that apply in nature and animals and humans and everything. It's incredible. It's incredible. So I wanted to say that I think there is something that has to do with reproduction, that has to do with pine cones. And the last thing that I'll say on that is because when I was looking about trying to find out how, um, you know, it played in, how it is a sign of like a reproductive type organ. So, and it's a sign of that, but there has to be some kind of property in there that helped with fertility. And because in ancient Greek times, Dionysus was considered one of the gods of fertility, and he had the pine cone, and he also had a fennel in his hand in his depictions. Now, fennel, interestingly, comes from the carrot family. And carrots can be good for you, but also you have hemlock too, and hemlock is poison. But hemlock also is medicine. It's just you have to be a pharmacist to know how to do it. You can't just go out there and eat hemlock because you're going to die. So, so ancient Greeks associated the pine cones with Dionysus because he was a male god of fertility. And then the Celts, they used pine cones actually as a talisman for fertility, and they would put it under their pillow. When a woman wanted to conceive, she would slip a pine cone underneath her pillow. They used it like a fertility charm. And then Sicilians, newlyweds, would adorn their bedrooms with pine cones because they wanted to have kids. So there's something that has to do with either maybe energy that's emitted from a pine cone, because there are resonances for all different types of plants and flowers and everything. Roses, their resonance is actually in the God frequency. Bees, they're in a resonance that's in the same resonant frequency as the earth. So when we stop seeing bees, that's when it's time to worry, because that means Mother Earth is sick. They're carrying the message. The bees carry the news. They carry the news. So as a botanical, the pine cone is a reproductive organ. I think that the pine cone has to do with reproduction. I think it has to do with medicine. I think it has to do with like a million different things. So I don't think that when they talk about how the Anunnaki are talking about our pineal gland and that they're bringing us awareness, I think it's more than that. I think it has to do with ancient times and just knowing that the planet and the universe were all mathematical, that it's all chemicals, and we all follow the same universal laws. And so there's not anything that could really symbolize the universal laws more than a pine cone. Its shape, its the things that it does, everything. So I wish I would have looked up what the resonance was, the vibrational frequency resonances of a pine cone. But I know that it has to be something that actually shows movement. And it probably does have a code, a secret code. So with that, I just wanted to end this. That was my thoughts on what I feel like the pine cone is symbolizing. I think that it symbolizes a lot more than what we've been led to believe, that it's just, your pineal gland. It's way more than that. It's way more than that. It's literally, it seems like there's so many components to so many things, but they all hook together, and they all are going to come together in one storyline. Everything's totally going to make sense from old times to how we got here now. And then when we get to that point, we're going to be able to go into the future such a better way, just by learning. So with that, thank you for spending 14 minutes of your time with me on Sacred Enzyme and listening to my rambling and my theories about old world and everything else that just, the mysteries of the universe. But anyway, it's raining here in Florida, so I can't say it's a sunny day, but I won't say I'm sad, because as my family says, you never look a gift horse in the mouth, and we need rain all the time. All God's creatures need water. So with that, have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching Sacred Enzyme. Bye-bye.